Every time the Ravens take the field, you can almost feel the tension before the first snap. And this past game was one of those nights when the emotions ran high even in victory. The scoreboard said one thing, but Lamar Jackson's expression told a completely different story. He walked off the field with that frustrated, almost restless look he gets whenever the offense falls short of his expectations, and honestly, it was hard to blame him all game long. You could see him searching for that spark he usually ignites so naturally. Yet the offense kept getting in its own way, leaving chance after chance on the turf. Even with the special teams doing their part and the defense playing like a unit, completely locked in, the offense never quite settled into a rhythm. And Lamar made it very clear afterward that he wasn't happy about that at all. Lamar is wired to chase perfection, and that mindset is part of what makes him the player he is. The guy steps onto the field expecting things to click from the very first drive, expecting precision, expecting fire, expecting execution. So when the first half goes by and the offense keeps stalling, keeps missing opportunities, keeps leaving the door open for the opponent, that frustration starts boiling under the surface. He said straight up that the unit just needed to execute better, that there's no magic explanation, no excuse to hide behind. They simply have to put points on the board. It was as blunt as it gets. And you could tell the rest of the offensive players felt the same weight. What made everything even more interesting was how the team addressed the idea of injuries, possibly playing a role in all the struggles. Lamar shut that down quickly. He said it wasn't about an injury, wasn't about any physical limitation holding back the offense. For him, it was execution. Plain and simple, the plays were there, the looks were there, and the team just didn't finish the drives the way they needed to. The defense has been carrying its share of the load for weeks, stepping up in moments when the offense couldn't find its footing. And that contrast is something Lamar has openly acknowledged. He said it outright. The defense is balling out, and the offense needs to match that energy instead of leaning on it. And it wasn't just Lamar saying that. Derrick Henry echoed the same tone, the same urgency, the same frustration. He basically said the offense didn't play the way it should have and that the solution wasn't complicated. Everyone has to do their job, execute, and raise their level. No excuses, no sugarcoating. Tyler Linderbaum added to that idea too, pointing out the struggles in the red zone and how the team can't keep walking away with field goals when they get that close to the end zone. When you drive the ball all the way down to the 7-yard line late in a tight game, you can't settle, you have to punch it in. And Linderbaum didn't shy away from saying that out loud. The mindset from the offensive players actually felt like one of the positive takeaways from the night. None of them came across as satisfied just because the team won. None of them brushed off the slow starts from recent weeks or tried to pretend things were fine. They all seemed to recognize that, yeah, it's great to get the win, but they can improve while they're winning. That's a huge thing. Because it's easy to overlook mistakes when the final score is in your favor. It's easy to convince yourself everything is on track when you're stacking victories. But this group clearly isn't falling into that trap now that the team is sitting at 6 wins and 5 losses and holding the top spot in the division again. You can feel the urgency starting to rise. Linderbaum even talked about how they want to start faster, give the defense some breathing room instead of making them drag the game forward. Until the offense wakes up, the slow starts are becoming a pattern, and against stronger opponents, that pattern can come back to bite hard. The red zone numbers from this past game weren't pretty either. They went to for 5 down there, a number that's going to drag their season average down even more. And again, that's something they know they have to fix. But the interesting thing is that while the problems are obvious, they're not mysterious. They're not confusing or hard to pinpoint. That actually makes the situation easier to tackle. Whether it's miscommunication on the line, inconsistency in the run game, drops by receivers, or a misread here and there, the offense can see exactly what's hurting them. The execution just isn't where it needs to be. And everyone in the room is fully aware of that. That honesty is refreshing, especially in a league where players sometimes dodge tough questions or bury everything under cliches. Early in the season, it was the offense lighting up the scoreboard while the defense tried to catch up. Now the roles have reversed. The defense is the group delivering knockout performances week after week, while the offense scrapes for momentum. That shift has been jarring, especially watching Lamar have a harder time finding those explosive moments we're used to seeing from him and seeing the run game fall flat. With barely 3 yards per carry, drives start, a few plays look promising, Then suddenly the ball is being punted away again. Speaking of punting, Jordan Stout deserves his credit because he has been putting on a show with his boot. But even he would probably tell you that he'd rather not be that busy. That's the thing about football. Though every unit depends on the other. When one group has to pick up the slack, it shows, and the offense, as much as it has struggled, knows exactly where it stands in that equation. John Harbaugh jumped in with some perspective too. When he was asked about Lamar's recent performances and the visible drop-off from what fans are used to seeing, he didn't hesitate for a second. He said he has complete confidence in Lamar, that he's doing what he needs to do, that he's fighting through everything and still finding ways to win football games. And Harbaugh reminded everyone that not every win is going to be pretty. Not every performance is going to be polished. But the important thing is that Lamar keeps showing up as a competitor, doing everything he can to help his team no matter what shape he's in. Lamar being on the field still changes the entire dynamic of the game, even when he's clearly banged up, even when he's not breaking off those explosive runs or shaking tacklers like usual. His presence alone forces defenses to adjust. You could see moments in the game where he got up slowly or moved with a bit of hesitation after getting hit. You could see times when he didn't have that same burst to escape the pocket, but he's still out there, still pushing, still dragging the offense forward even when his own body is working against him. And that's where things start to get complicated. He has several different leg issues nagging him right now, and playing behind an offensive line that hasn't exactly been stable makes everything harder. Some plays you can see him reading the field with patience. And then suddenly a defender breaks through untouched. There were throws that sailed, throws that drifted, throws that came out just a little earlier or later than they normally would. That's not the Lamar we're used to. That's a version of him that's navigating discomfort, but refusing to let it dictate the game. The offensive line's performance hasn't exactly helped either. You can see the inconsistency from snap to snap. One guy executes perfectly while another gets beat instantly. One drive looks cohesive. The next drive collapses because pressure comes free up the middle, and when you're playing against guys like Ed Oliver or Dallas Turner, those missed assignments hurt fast. And yet, even with the frustration, even with the physical limitations, Lamar keeps showing up and keeps fighting for the team. He's not one to hide behind excuses or point fingers. He takes responsibility and keeps pushing. That mentality spreads through the locker room, and it's why you hear so many players talking openly about what needs to change without hesitation. The story doesn't stop with Lamar's effort on the field, because the real challenge is how the rest of the offense responds to the pressure he's under. The run game has been struggling, and that's putting even more weight on Lamar's shoulders. Derrick Henry has fought through every tackle, every pile, every defensive line that seemed determined to stop him before he even gets past the line of scrimmage. But when the team averages barely 3 yards per carry, and Lamar is limited in his usual escapability, the offense starts to feel smaller than it should, like it's playing half a game while the defense carries the other half. And the truth is, the defense has been carrying it well. They've been the steady heartbeat over the past few weeks, coming up with stops, with turnovers, with big plays when the team needed them most. But you can see Lamar watching the scoreboard, watching the game clock, and thinking, we have to do more. We have to take this over. That's the mindset he brings, and it's infectious, even if it comes wrapped in frustration. Now, talking about injuries, Lamar's situation is complicated, because it's not just one thing, it's a combination of leg issues that, in other circumstances, might have sidelined a quarterback for a game or two. But Lamar has shown repeatedly that he isn't the type to bow out, unless there is absolutely no choice. Even so, there were moments where the limitations were visible. Slower steps when resetting in the pocket, more cautious reads, hesitation before taking off on the outside, and yet, he still created opportunities. Still made throws that forced defenders to adjust and rethink their strategy. His presence on the field changes everything for the opposing defense, because they can't just focus on the run game or the receivers. They have to account for Lamar, and that alone opens up windows that other quarterbacks simply don't have. That's why, even if he isn't at 100%, the Ravens' offense is more dangerous with him than it would be with anyone else. And speaking of accountability, the offensive line has been under the microscope lately, and for good reason. The inconsistency has been glaring. Some games, they look like a cohesive unit, protecting the quarterback, opening lanes for Henry, making sure the play develops as it's supposed to. Other games, though, And even in this one at times, it's like the line is a patchwork of highs and lows. One side dominates the matchup. The other side struggles to hold a block, and suddenly everything falls apart when you're facing elite pass rushers. And when tackles like Ed Oliver and Dallas Turner are tearing through gaps, the pressure falls back on Lamar and the running backs. And while the stats may show some successes here and there, the reality on the field is a constant battle to stay upright, stay mobile, and still make something happen. You can see why Lamar's frustration is real because the margin for error is razor thin. When the protection isn't consistent, what's impressive, though, is how the team is handling it internally. There's no finger pointing, no blame game when you hear players like Tyler Linderbaum or others talking about the red zone struggles. They acknowledge the issues but immediately pivot to solutions. They know exactly what needs to improve: execution, focus, finishing drives, making the right reads, making the right blocks, and pushing through when the situation isn't perfect. That kind of mindset doesn't just make them better players individually, it makes the entire offense more resilient. And resilience is exactly what's needed when Lamar and the unit in front of him are playing through physical limitations while trying to match the energy of a defense. That's firing on all cylinders, and then there's the mental side of it, which is just as important. Being able to step onto the field knowing you're not at 100% and still find ways to impact the game takes an enormous mental strength. Lamar's approach has always been to fight for every inch, to trust in his preparation and his instincts, and to never settle for just good enough. That mentality carries over to the other players. When they see their quarterback pushing through adversity, refusing to accept mediocrity, it challenges everyone else to elevate their level of play. That's why the locker room talks about execution and responsibility with such clarity there. Internalizing the message and owning their part of the performance, looking at the broader picture. It's easy to see why Ravens fans are both excited and anxious. The team is leading the division, but the margin for error is shrinking and every game matters more than ever. The schedule isn't forgiving, and even a slow start can snowball against tougher opponents. That's why this focus on execution, red zone efficiency, and finishing drives is so critical. The defense can only do so much. And while the special teams provide momentum, the offense must rise to the occasion. And the fact that the players acknowledge these gaps while still celebrating victories shows a rare level of maturity and dedication. They aren't complacent, they're critical, aware, and motivated to get better week after week. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens, and hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. A storm of controversy is swirling around the NFL as news broke that the highly anticipated matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Jets has been abruptly canceled, while official statements remain cryptic. Sources close to the teams hint at serious allegations that have rocked both locker rooms. Fans and analysts are left in disbelief, as whispers suggest that the scandal could involve off-field misconduct of a magnitude rarely seen in professional football. The cancellation has sent shockwaves through the league, raising questions about player conduct, team management, and the league's response protocols. Insiders report that investigators are combing through sensitive information, and while nothing has been confirmed, speculation is running rampant across social media. Some claim that the alleged issues could implicate high-profile players or staff members, making this one of the most explosive stories in recent NFL history. Even die-hard supporters of both franchises are struggling to process the news. Tailgate gatherings, betting lines, and fantasy league projections have all been thrown into chaos as fans try to discern fact from rumor. Sports talk shows are reportedly scrambling to fill airtime with analysis, but the mystery deepens by the hour, and no definitive answers are forthcoming. The league has issued a vague statement promising appropriate action, but the lack of transparency is fueling more conjecture than clarity. While some observers suggest that the fallout could impact player trades, sponsorship deals, and even coaching careers, others speculate that the scandal may remain shrouded in secrecy for months. Meanwhile, Ravens and Jets fans are left in limbo, eagerly scanning news feeds for any hint of resolution. The NFL, known for its intense scrutiny and passionate following, has never faced a situation quite like this, and the buzzing chatter suggests that this incident may dominate headlines far longer than anyone anticipated. In the world of sports, few things ignite more intrigue than the unknown. And right now, The Ravens-Jets saga is the perfect storm of rumors, scandal, and suspense. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.